it's all about making that time to show who you are, show what you're all about, and really put yourself out there, because uh, that's what's going to attract the clients to come to you. And they're not just coming to you because of your work style, they're coming to you because of who you are as a person.
The Perspective Podcast is fuel for your mind and creative grind. Each week, my guests and I provide the skills for thinking bigger, overcoming adversity, and making an impact with your work. PC family, today I'm joined by my homie, my brother from another mother, Terence Tang of Tinlun Studio. Welcome to the Perspective Podcast, my brother. How you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks so much for having me.
No problem. There's so much going on with you in your world. But you and I, we go back to, was it the Sean West community when we both were like the first time we ever found any type of community? Is that where we first linked up?
Yeah, it definitely was. And I remember when you first jumped in there, I was like, holy crap, Scotty.D.Russell's in here. I follow his work. Like, he's awesome. Like, I was like, holy crap, it's Scotty.
Back in the few thousand follower days. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. And for people who don't know, you and me have kept in touch all these years in like accountability groups and Skype. I mean, not Skype, but Slack, linking up at conferences for like family reunions. So it's about damn time we made this happen.
For sure, man. Hey, can I jump into a quick story time? This is funny that, like,
Oh,
I don't think a lot of people know this.
Yeah, you got this. I don't know about this. You're making me nervous.
So back when we were both just kind of getting going a little bit, I remember Ligature Collective had their contest, right, to get
Oh God,
to join the club or whatnot.
And it's like the 10K follower thing.
Yes. And so I worked really hard on this piece. I was like, all right, this is going to get me in. I'm going to get into the Ligature Collective. And, they announced the winners, and I got beat out by some guy named Scotty.D.Russell. And I was like, who the hell is this guy,
From
man?
Iowa.
Yeah, I was like, Iowa? Who the fuck is in Iowa? Like, but yeah. Fast forward to now, we're like really great friends. So
doesn't sound like you're bitter at all.
No, not at all.
So for those of the listeners who don't know who you are, give us a brief Wikipedia page summary about yourself, and we're gonna go dive deep into your story today.
Oh man, so I create under the name Tinlun Studio. I focus primarily on hand lettering, with a deeper focus on murals these days. But I also do a lot of apparel design, which is something that I really enjoy doing. I'm a big sneakerhead, and I've recently been able to dive a little bit more into that side of my passion, which we'll get into. But yeah, I went to school for film, jumped into web design, graphic design, in and out of the corporate world, and finally now finding kind of a sweet spot, hopefully, in doing some freelance.
Yeah, and your story is wild, man. It's hella inspiring. Like, talk about climbing out of holes. You recently just gave one of your first talks. Huge congrats on that. It's about damn time. Now you're going to be tearing up stages. Anyway, you recently just gave your first talk in Houston, Texas, and you talk about climbing out of holes. And you took your family into your hole as well. Talk about that. Kind of the ups and downs that you've been through, where you used to be to where you were, then to the hole again, and then out of the hole again to where you are today. I'd love to just like catch people up over the last couple of years.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I guess it would be about 4 years ago now, I was kind of knee deep in doing corporate graphic design, and
are you talking to me right now?
Yeah. And I kind of realized that I wasn't really being creatively fulfilled as much as I could be. I wasn't really living up to the potential that I was looking for, even though the job was great, and I love the people that I worked with. I just felt like I needed to try something else, and I quit my job and I started an apparel line. And it was all going pretty well, or so I thought. I was just having the time of my life, designing my apparel and putting out products and going to conferences and meeting people and making connections. And I was completely ignorant to the fact that I was being a terrible business owner, for one, because I was not paying attention to finances. I was blowing money left and right on stuff that I really didn't need to be. And I say money, but this is my family's savings. So I'm blowing that, and I'm also spending so much time on the business, telling myself that, hey, I'm doing this for the family, but in reality, I'm just completely neglecting my family.
Mm.
So um, yeah, it just got to the point where I needed to really kind of have a check myself moment where, if I don't slow down and pay more attention to my family and watch my son grow up, uh, I'm going to be doing this basically for nothing. I'm going to lose them. And like, what's the point of doing all this if they're not around? So um, I I kind of it was hard for me to kind of accept the fact that my apparel line wasn't going to go well, and I had to pick up another job, full-time work again. So I picked up work, and it was a really, really stressful job. It was an agency job. So I went from doing corporate to, doing my own thing, making my own schedule, and then going to agency life. So it was like really laid back, and then really fun, and then really hectic. So I was getting stressed the hell out, and obviously that meant,
Just
uh, you know,
ridiculous deadlines and
yeah,
everything.
yeah, working nights and weekends and spending even less time with my family, and it wasn't helping. And I thought, this job is good for me because I'm learning, and I'm being forced to present things, and I'm getting out of my comfort zone, and the pace is, teaching me what real time management is. But yeah, it really kind of destroyed me, and it got to a point where I made a mistake on a project that uh, it forced the team that I was on to work through our week-long Christmas break to make up for my mistake. And that was probably like rock bottom for me, because it's like, it's one thing if I screw up something, or if, um, I mess up with my family and I can try to fix it. But like, it really killed me to mess up other people's Christmases, and it was just such a terrible moment for me to hit that. And then, coming out of that a little bit throughout the new year, started to move past it, and they ended up letting me go anyway.
Oh, really? Was it
Yeah,
like a fired or
sort of. It was more like, hey, if you
budget cuts?
really, it was like, if you really think you can cut it here, you need to prove that you can manage time, and you know, uh, just show that you fit in here. And it was just getting like, trying to show them what they wanted was really just killing me even more. So we came to kind of that point where it was just, hey, this isn't working. Like, I just need to get out of here.
What was your next move then?
Well, it was a blessing in disguise, because then I I was doing a little bit of freelance then, but that was like forced freelance. While I was job hunting, I picked up another job, and while I was working that full time job, I kept my stuff going on the side. Like, I was very intentional about, hey, like, I took a really long look at what I wanted to focus on. Like, the apparel's not working. Um, it's really expensive to do that. The process is really hard. Getting the exposure is really hard.
And for
So
people who
what?
don't know, you are so tedious about every single detail in any product you ever put out, from like name tags to like anything. Every just the sizing garments of everything, like the imprint on the inside, like it's wild.
Yeah, and that was actually part of the problem, was that I spent too much time on that kind of stuff and not
Some
doing
people call it don't iron your underwear.
it.
You were ironing those grundies, dude.
Totally, man. I was my own roadblock in my business, and that's the worst thing you can do. Um, but yeah, I kind of just decided that, hey, I think murals would be fun, because I have this big chalk wall in my garage that I just go to town on every now and then. So I thought, hey, let me go into some chalk murals and just do them and see how I like it. And I got hired to do a few chalk murals, and I kind of had this aha moment where it was like a Saturday or something, where I was just up on a ladder, lettering on some business wall, And
Was
I
this the
just kind
bubble
of
tea place?
no, this was another place. This was like a leather goods place, and I was just chalking on the wall, and then I just kind of stepped back and paused for a moment. I looked at this piece of chalk in my hand, and I was like, this little piece of chalk is making me several $100s right now. And I was just kind of like, okay, this is what I need to start focusing on this. And from that point, I was like, all right, I'm going to focus on chalk murals. And then from there, just kind of even went further on into let's do some painted murals because that's, you know, that's even more fun. So I've been focused on the mural thing ever since, and it's been working out for me so far.
What's it called? Houston murals, or what were you calling it? H-Town
I was
chalk?
calling it H-Town Chalk, but I've kind of roped it back into Tinlun.
Yeah, talk about like your personal brand and everything. How does that all come into the mix? Because you tried curating something else on the side, but you're so good. Like what I really want to like hit on with people is these jobs that you may be in right now. Maybe it's not fulfilling, it's not what you want to do your entire life. I talk about stealing from your day job, but let me rephrase that. What I mean by that is like stealing and learning and leveraging your day job to learn skills and assets that you can use to fuel your dream job. And for you in the past, maybe it's not jobs you love, the corporate gig, but you've learned photography, you've learned videography, you've learned like web design, you've learned time management, project management, you've learned what works, what doesn't work, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And like each little thing has provided you a nugget to where you are today with this new evolution of Tinlun, because you're back to doing full-time freelance on your own, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, full-time freelance right now. And it's definitely interesting because it was easy for me to look back at those, you know, 6, 8, 10 years at this one company doing work where I felt like I was just wasting my time there. But, you know, I can see now looking back that, you know, I did learn some little skills. I did learn how to project manage. I did learn how to make connections and how to talk about projects. You know, all those things um, come back full circle. You know, once you're doing your own thing, you're like, oh, like you have all these little micro skills that you didn't even realize you were honing on a day-to-day basis. You felt like you were just sitting there wasting away, but in reality, you know, like you're making a connection to some person who maybe down the road might refer you a project, and that's actually happened to me like recently. Someone that I met 10, 15 years ago at this first job that I had has referred me to some very steady freelance design work. And it's just, you never know, like nothing's ever wasted.
Yeah, totally. So how do you balance right now between, getting gigs right now with your freelance, retainer clients, whatever, new places popping up? I don't know if everybody needs a mural around there. I mean, people around here want murals all the time, but nobody wants to pay for that shit. Um, but like, how do you balance like your work and then making sure you have time to play, to experiment, to then attract future jobs that you want? In terms of like passion projects, how do you balance your hustle with making sure you have time to play in any type of passion projects?
Yeah, I think it's really important to make time for those passion projects because not all of these freelance things are going to always completely fulfill you. Obviously, you're going to have, you know, restrictions on them, and you're not going to be able to completely 100% do what you want to do on those projects. So
And you
you
don't
def
post all of those to your Instagram either, do you?
no, no, definitely not. And you know, it's all about making that time to show who you are, show what you're all about, and really put yourself out there because uh, that's what's going to attract the clients to come to you. And they're not just coming to you because of your work style. They're coming to you because of who you are as a person. They're coming to me because I'm a sports fan. I'm a sneakerhead, you know, and I'm now painting soccer cleats for an MLS team,
Oh shit.
and it's kind of insane. Like like you put yourself out there more and show really who you are, like you will get it back. It'll
Ooh,
come back.
I like that. So show yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like you show good buckets. I got this from Jenna Kutcher as well as Elizabeth Gray, the Greater Good. Her and I really hit on this, and I think it's important to touch on it again. You live in these buckets. Um, we'll talk about humankind here in a second, but you're really big into um, I guess empowering people, encouraging people, and acceptance, things around there, as well as shoes, and then family seems to be in one of your buckets as well as like calligraphy, so
Hmm.
like, can you describe kind of those buckets, and then how does these buckets allow you to show up and be yourself, and then attract like-minded people, and then attract jobs, and like sneakerhead, that's been huge.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you're talking about these buckets. Like it's kind of like you have to figure out how these buckets intersect. And if they don't actually intersect, you make them intersect. Like people don't typically think about lettering on shoes, on sneakers. But I like shoes, I like lettering. Let's put them together and see what happens, and
And then you use your photography to take dope photos and layouts and flat lays, like you're leveraging those other skills. You're like
yes,
intersecting all these buckets. It's
yes,
wild, man.
everything can come together. You never really know.
So like, how would you challenge someone to get to where you are? Because you weren't where you were years, and you're a late bloomer too. And I think this is super inspiring too. Like you're a late bloomer. You've been up and down, and you're still at it. And I feel like you're really finding your stride right now. So like, tell us tell us your strategy then, if for someone who was like, maybe they've been up and down, and they're looking to like show up as themselves. What are some tips looking back on like, how would you rephrase what you did? Maybe you stumbled into it. Maybe you took passion to paid with Lauren Hom, or like what helped you kind of find your groove again?
Lauren Hom's Passion Paid definitely helped a lot, but I think the biggest thing for me was physically getting out there and going to conferences. Like when I went to my first conference, which was Circles conference, like I
Mhm.
got exposed to a world that I had no idea existed, work that people were doing that I hadn't even dreamed was, possible. And I was just, it was, my mind was blown because I was like, I could be doing some of this stuff. Like that's fucking crazy. I need to chase after some of this stuff because I want to do this. And like there's so many resources out there now, versus back in my day, we didn't have Instagram to kind of check out what people are doing or to see how people are doing things. There weren't programs for everything. There weren't YouTube channels that will show you how to paint soccer cleats. You had to figure everything out on your own. And for the people who are just kind of trying to figure out which direction to steer, man, you've got all the resources right now. You can steer in any direction as long as you're going in a direction.
Pick a
Like
lane.
pick a lane and go down it.
Ooh, pick a lane and steer. Ooh, that's nice. Pick a lane and steer. I'm stealing that for my talk next year.
Dude,
I'm just kidding. I dig that.
throwing back to the your mention of the Sean West podcast, one of the things that stuck with me that he talked about was you can't steer a parked car. As long as you're moving and you're steering, you're going to pick up something along the way. You'll figure it out, like just as long as you're not sitting still. And I think that's the one thing that has helped me get to this point is that, there were times where I felt like I wanted to just give up and change careers or whatever, but
I remember hearing you talk about those times, man.
yeah, yeah, and just the common theme throughout all of that is I never sat still. It's like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. It's not, don't just sit there and like, wish you could do this or wish you could do that, or oh, if circumstances were different, well, change your fucking circumstances. Like you can make something happen.
So, when did you start deciding like, hey, these are the buckets I want to play in? This isn't what's working in the past, because failure is progress. And you've considered yourself a failure multiple times. I've heard this from your mouth. And the reason why you're succeeding right now is because you failed.
Yeah,
You
for
hit the
sure.
rock bottom. Rock bottom was so important in my life, and I'm sure there's going to be another rock bottom on the horizon, and bring it.
No, man, like you don't get to rock bottom without learning a shit ton of big lessons along the way down there. And those lessons that you learn, that's what's going to help you climb out of rock bottom. And you need to leverage those things. And even if you don't learn an actual skill that you can use, you learn something that didn't work. So I learned that apparel in the way that I was doing it didn't work. So I had to change something about the way I was doing it. I had to change, you know, at the core of it, the reason I was doing it. Like I couldn't do it just to try to start, a streetwear brand or whatever. I want to do it, but I'm going to start doing it with some philanthropic reasons first, and then just
Start
kind
with
of start to
start with
build it up.
why, you know, why?
Exactly.
Why do you do it?
Exactly.
So let's pivot and talk about that. So you're back on it with the short run of things. With this new, would you call this a passion project? It's more of a movement with humankind.
Is it a movement? I don't know if it's a movement yet,
I
but
think it has the potential to be,
I would.
especially with the world these days. We clearly need it. So, like, yeah, let's talk about that. So, not only are you doing freelance full time, you're finding time to play with your own passion projects, pursuits. But now talk about where did this passion project of humankind come from? What is it
Yeah.
first? Yeah, what is it? Where did the idea come from? What are some wild things it's evolved into or led into, opportunities you're attracted, and then how can people get involved?
Humankind actually started as kind of a charitable initiative from Real Thread. They reached out to me and they wanted to collaborate on a project where I design a shirt and they would print and ship out the shirts, and the proceeds would be donated to a charity of my choosing. And they worked with maybe 5 or 6 artists on this project. Um, and at that time, there were a lot of mass shootings happening around the country, and that's really what I wanted this project to be centered around, and I wanted it to be about love and acceptance, and not fearing people and shunning people for just being different or being who they are. And it took me a little while to figure out, like I knew, of course, I wanted it to be some sort of lettering project, like a lettering thing that would be on a shirt. But I was just tossing ideas around with my wife Jen, and I was like, I don't know what phrase to use. I don't know what it should say. And then she just one day she was like, "Hey, how about humankind?" I was like, "Holy shit, that's it!" Like
Wifey for the
humankind.
win.
Yes, for the win. I was like, humankind, human kindness. We're all, be a kind human. Like that's absolutely perfect. So I whipped that up, and Real Thread put it up there, printed it, and it sold like a lot more shirts than I could possibly imagine. And the response was huge. And I was like, okay, this is something that I need to keep going. And so I kept it going on my end, printed more shirts, um, donated to more causes. I've donated to like the Me Too movement and Families Belong Together and the National Compassion Fund.
And this
Um,
is like 100%.
yeah, 100%. I'm not keeping a dime. Um, Although someday I would like to be able to make this profitable, but
At least cover your costs, especially of your
yeah,
time.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
because you put so much time into this stuff, dude. I know you and your products in your detail, man. You're an underwear ironer.
yes, I am. But yeah, for right now, it's just, 100% goes to a charity that I choose, or a cause that I choose. And, it's the support that I get from all the people who support the project is it's just so great. Like just yesterday, I was out eating lunch with my family, and um, a guy walks in the restaurant wearing a humankind shirt. And I was like, oh shit.
Oh, dude, that's
Like,
gotta feel
that's so
so
cool.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. And our buddy Dan, he was saying that he was talking to somebody who
Dan drawn
saw
words for those who
Dan
don't know.
drawn
Dan Lee, the homie.
Dan Lee, the homie. Dan was wearing a humankind hat. And someone said, hey, I've seen that hat in Denver. Like, what's the deal with this hat? And they weren't in Denver. They were like somewhere else, like in Wyoming or something. And it's that kind of stuff just blows my mind. That
It's gotta feel like you're planting these little seeds, and now your seeds are starting to blossom, letting you know you're on the right track, getting those little
yeah,
signs that,
yeah,
oh
for
crap,
sure.
this is actually something, and I still need to own something humankind. I got all this other Tinlun swag, but I got nothing humankind. So that'll have to change at the end of this call.
Oh yeah,
But
man.
what has this project led to? We're speaking in the past now, even though this is coming out before the launch of it. So let's talk about it on November 1st. This is coming out a week after, but I'll be sure to plug it, leading up to the hype of this episode release. But let's just talk about this opportunity you just landed. Being a sneakerhead.
So I recently applied and got chosen to be part of the We Are Cultivator program, and that is a program through Nike, and they work with creatives across the country to tell stories through sneakers. And so the story that I chose to tell was essentially the humankind story. I wanted my sneaker to be about love and acceptance and peace and compassion and breaking down barriers of hate. Because I need those reminders too sometimes. I every now and then I've got the little road rage, and I'm like, oh, like I can't be doing this. Like we all need to be kinder humans, and telling stories through sneakers is such a unique thing, and I think obviously Nike realizes that, and they're partnering up with a lot of storytellers to do that. And so my sneaker will be coming out, or my sneaker,
Your sneaker just dropped, and it was a successful launch, by the
my
way.
my sneaker just dropped on November 1st, and I think it will have just closed a couple of days ago. So it's been quite a
How
ride.
did it
Like,
feel when that sneaker dropped? This is about visualization right here. This
dude,
is key to all creative success.
dude, I still can't even imagine. Like, it was one thing to be selected for the program, and
Because
I
how
was
many did
just
they select?
they selected 38 out of thousands, I think.
Thousands. It's got to be thousands, thousands,
Gotta be.
thousands, thousands.
Yeah, and like, side note, shout out to all the other creators. Like, I've been chatting with some of them on Instagram, and the stuff that they've been coming up with is really cool. Like,
Building those relationships right there
yeah,
too.
those are
Just
some
taking initiative.
really cool people, man. Um, but yeah, it was one thing to be chosen for the program, but you know, it's hard for me to even imagine someone else out there wearing a shoe that I designed.
And that's
Like,
been like when we first met, you talked about designing shoes or working for Nike as a dream project. And like, look at it.
yeah,
We've been hustling side by side for like 5 years now.
yeah.
4 years.
Has it
Four or
only been
five.
that?
I've been doing this for a little over 5.5 years now. And then I was about a year into it. So it'd be 4 years.
Dude,
Yep.
we've packed a lot of progress into 4 years.
In the 4 years, dude. It's wild when you actually like look back and connect the dots. But I seriously remember you telling me like a dream job would be in some kind of sneaker for Nike. That's why this is so dope. And I wish we could have timed this better,
Yeah,
with my
man.
scheduling. But regardless, we're making it happen now.
No, it's all good. It's still really fun to talk about, and I still can't believe that it's happening. Dude, do you want a quick sneak peek? Can we show?
A sneak peek. Ah, is that a pun intended?
I see what you did there.
Yeah, for those who are watching the YouTube video of this in the show notes. Yeah, wild.
So real quick, the back of the
Oh,
shoes.
I have a soft spot for abbreviations because look at Perspective Collective, the
Yeah,
hardest abbreviation ever. That's
yeah.
way easier with 3 letters on
I
each.
I pulled a Scotty and struck all the vowels out.
Oh man, that's way better. It's more tastefully done on your end. Now, my shit's just way hard for people to find me now. Not user friendly, but it looks good on my license plate. So that's sick then. Like what now? Now that you got this under your belt, you got some momentum. Where do you see humankind moving? And how can people get involved? Maybe they can't buy this sneaker right now, but something else is gonna pop off.
Oh
How can
man.
people get involved with this?
So I still have my winter collection open for a couple more days, so you can jump onto my website and snag a sweatshirt. Got a few sweatshirts out.
When's that
Um,
close down?
it should be the 15th. I'm gonna close it
15th.
down on
Okay.
the
Yep.
15th.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we got like 2 days right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I may or may not even make a little perspective podcast coupon code for those of you who have tuned in.
Ooh, you
Might
just
want to
said
jump
you
in.
may or may, so now you have to.
Okay, I will. I'll do it.
What is it gonna be? Humankind with no vowels?
Mm, let's see.
Let's
I
say it
like it.
right here so people
I
know
like
it.
it. I
And then
like
I'll
it. Humankind
humankind.
with no vowels.
Okay.
That's it.
That's HMNKND.
Doing it.
Cool. How much do they get off?
Let's go 20% off
All right. You heard it here first. I'll make sure to plug that in the intro or outro too.
just for listening to the podcast. You get 20% off.
My dude. That's awesome. So like what's the next step? What do you see? Where do you want this to be? If you could like right now project yourself 5 years from now, 3 years from now, where do
So
you see yourself or what do you want? At this moment in time, it's flexible. It's always flexible. You got to have a carrot you're chasing.
so
Everyone needs that carrot.
we're on that Nike road. So let's keep going down that Nike road. Um, so what they're calling this cultivator program, they're calling this a co-creation. So meaning we can't actually say that we are collaborators with Nike because a collaborator is someone like Kevin Durant or Serena Williams, like people who have signed contracts with them to endorse Nike. So they are collaborators. I am a co-creator at this point. I would love to reach a point where Nike is actually making sneakers with my humankind lettering on it, like lasered on it or painted on it or
As a
something like that.
collaborator.
As a collaborator, like an actual humankind sneaker, an actual one. Like that
So
would be,
what's the next steps to make that happen? You know us, we're all talking about
dude,
reverse engineering goals, setting those game plans. What's the
dude.
strategy? What's the next move?
I don't know, man. I've got my foot in the door now. I just got to kick it open
And run with it.
and run with
You
it,
got the
man.
foot, kick, and run.
I
Oh,
gotta
the
see. I
pun
gotta
game's
make.
strong.
I gotta make the connections. I gotta make connections and try to figure out how to make this happen. Because I think, like you say, I think I might be onto something as far as humankind being a movement, and I think that's a story that Nike would love to tell. So I think I just need to get that story in front of the right people, and we might be on our way.
And that means more talks. That means, putting it out there, talking about it with more people. I mean, we just blasted it to thousands of people now are going to hear your vision, your goals. So, I mean, project
Woo.
that strong out there, project a big vision.
Doing it,
Yeah.
making shit
So
happen.
if people do want to get involved and it's past like, people are going to be listening to this for a long time post this episode. So it's more in the meantime, just following you. We'll talk about, give you the whole plug of where people can follow you online, but it's follow you and your story basically. Like Instagram is kind of the main platform. Do you have like an Instagram account for Humankind where you're featuring people wearing your work, or is that going to come where it just exists on its own?
I thought about that. I think at this point, since it's still so small, I'm just going to keep it under Tinlun, Tinlun Studio. But yeah, I think with to get involved with Humankind, I do take donations, just open donations on my website. But I will also continue to make runs of merch. I've done hats, I've done sweatshirts, I've done T-shirts. I'll probably stay in that lane. I've done some pins as well. But I'll probably just keep doing different variations of that kind of thing and just see where that goes, see where it takes me.
So a lot of people want to get into doing merch, and I think you just learned a big lesson from before. What are some of the biggest lessons from before when you did like a product line to now? What are you doing differently that's working for you? I'm just like, I know, but a lot of people don't know.
So one of the biggest things for me was to switching over to a pre-order system,
Yeah.
because when I first started, I would get minimum runs of everything. So like 50 or 100 pieces of stuff. Had all this inventory stacked up in my house with no idea how many people were going to buy, what sizes people were going to buy. I was completely guessing how many mediums, how many larges, how many smalls. That was all just like a pile of guessing right there. And then I put it out there and then it sells maybe 10, 15, and then the rest of it is still sitting in my garage right
It's
now.
like
Like,
2% of people who say they're going to buy actually buy.
yeah, that's definitely
Been there,
true.
been
If
there.
even 1%,
1%.
yeah, 1%. But yeah, so switching over to that pre-order system where committed people will purchase right away. You know what size you need to order. You know exactly how much you need to order. You can get a little bit extra. That'll help keep your inventory down, keep your costs down, and then from there you can move from launch to launch and not kill yourself over trying to market this whole line of stuff. Like marketing an entire line where you have jackets, hats, pins, patches, shirts.
Seasonal drops
Yeah,
too. You're
exactly.
trying to have to
Seasonal
plan
drops.
like 2 months in advance for each one of your drops. It's so
Yeah.
much work.
And then you got to figure out, oh, it's, I got to have a Columbus Day sale and a Memorial Day sale, Labor Day sale. Like people are going to wait for those sales if you have that kind of a line. But I found that keeping it small, short run, and just dropping it every now and then, that's been really helpful. And another big thing is to keep it simple. If you try to do too many different things, you can bury yourself really quickly. Like even if you just have a hat and a shirt, it sounds simple enough, right? But that also means that you have to have a shipping box for a hat and a shipping box for a shirt and a shipping box for a hat and a shirt.
Yeah, I remember hearing a lot of those too from your life. You're like, shit, I didn't think about if someone brought a sweatshirt and a hat and a shirt and a couple pins.
Right,
Like, oh, I didn't plan for this.
right. Yeah. I was like, what happens if someone buys a hat and then like a poster. I'm like, how am I going to ship this? It's like
two two
like
separate ships.
yeah. I'm like, oh, so it just it makes it so much more complicated than you need it to be, especially if you're shipping everything on your own.
What's your thoughts on
And
like print on demand?
um, print on demand, like I think it works for a lot of people's lifestyle and time allowance, and I think that's great. It's a really good way to get started. Um, uh, I I don't know. I think for me, I prefer to have a little bit more control over how my stuff is made. So I'm a little bit more, I iron my underwear, so I need to have that control. Like I can't let go of that aspect of it. But I have let go of the the fulfillment and shipping part of it. I do have a company now that does my drop shipping,
Oh, perfect.
and it's the same company that prints for me. So I send off the art, they print, pack, ship, and then they just bill me. And I basically don't have to touch any of the merch. I know that it's going to be done the way I want it to be done. I know it's going to be shipped with my sticker and like a little card that I supply for them. And it's a lot more time back. Like you don't realize how much time you spend just packing an order. Like I remember when I'd be trying to get some freelance work done, and then one order rolls in, and it's like, oh,
A
fuck.
sticker pack.
Like,
Fuck.
right? It's like now I got to spend 30 minutes to pack one sticker pack, and that sounds really ungrateful. Like I'm grateful that for that one order, but to stop everything you're doing just so that you can
80/20.
pack, right,
When a 20 takes over an 80.
right.
Dude, I
You got to
get it.
pack that one thing. You're
That's
just
why I
messing up
killed
the
my shop
flow.
this year, was exactly because of that. All right.
Dude.
So that's great. And I think people are going to find a lot of value too. 'Cause so many people hit me up about like doing their own merch line. Cause I did my own for 4 years with a buddy. And like I know all my friends do too. And everybody says the same stuff. So pre-sale. Pre-sale is where it's at. That's what I'm gonna do whenever I put out my next line of mugs too. So
Do it.
pivot, a couple more questions before we go to rapid fire. We talking about our why earlier. So what are your internal and then external sources that fuel your creative grind? What are your why? It could be internal and external.
I think my one of my biggest whys is that as an introvert, I don't talk a lot, you know,
But
and
you're
I've
so funny too. Like once you get to know you, like you talk a lot and you're a funny ass dude. You got wordplay, you got jokes. Like
uh,
just gotta
well,
warm up to turn up.
I'm just you might need to explain to the
Oh
listeners
God,
where
yeah.
turnip came from.
I don't know. I think I just called you when we were drinking. I think when Daniel Pulp of High Pulp bought like 30 Coronas right before bar closed and they kicked us out. And I think I called you Turnip that night instead of
Oh
Terence.
my
I
god,
don't know.
dude, I completely forgot about that night. That 30 Corona night.
I'm
Holy
like,
crap!
dude, the bar closes in 5 minutes. We can't even drink these. What are you doing?
Yeah, he just cleaned out the bar.
But I think Turnip came from Curious. I honestly don't know why I started calling you Turnip.
Oh man, that's funny.
Turned up, Turnip. Okay.
Turn
Anyway,
up,
what
turn
are
up
your
for what?
sources? Turn.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think I just figured out that lettering is well, first of all, I have that artistic itch, right? Like I have to draw something, and I've always
Some
been
people
drawn
have
to.
jock itch. Some people have an artistic itch. I get it.
Sure, I mean, whatever, do what you got to do. Um, but yeah, just I think that's just my way of communicating with the world in the best way that I can, with my expressive style and just telling the story that I want to tell. Like I'm having trouble telling this story verbally right now. I could do it way better in lettering if I were to sit there and draw something about it and post it. Like it would be way better than listening to me talk about it right now. So I think that's where my main drive comes from. Is that for me as an introvert to express myself in a way that's best is I need to do that through my lettering.
That's perfect, man. What's one piece of advice you give yourself when you were just starting off? The first early days of Tinlun.
It'd have to be just to get out there and meet people. Get out there, talk to people, go to conferences, get out of your comfort zone. Like I have friends who are designers who are, you know, very introverted and they've never been to a conference and they don't go to conferences because it freaks them out. And I'm like, dude, you got to go. Like,
They live in a bubble.
yeah, like you got to go. Come with me. Go to a conference. I'll introduce you to people. Like, you got to start talking to people because you never know who you're going to meet who will inspire you in a way that you never imagined, who will know a process about something that you want to do down the road, or just someone whose brain you want to pick about anything at all. Like, you make make genuine connections with people, and that will take you way
Relationships are
longer.
everything. This is the
Yes,
theme of this show is relationships.
yes, that will take you way further than any college degree or class or workshop or talk. Like, actually meeting people, meeting new people, connecting with people, that will take you far.
For sure. Love it. All right, let's move to rapid fire questions. If you were
Do
on
it.
death row, what would your last slice of pizza be?
I've listened to a lot of episodes where you ask this question and people just say like pepperoni or just plain cheese. I want my pizza to have so much shit on it that I need to eat it with a fork. Like, I
Like
like my
figuratively though, right?
yeah, yes, figuratively. Like, I want like a damn near casserole of a pizza.
You want like a pizzone.
Yes. Yeah, that's my ideal pizza. So everything kitchen sink on it.
All right. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird. I have to be as a parent.
Same. Changes everything. I'm glad I like built this into my rhythm of my life, and my side hustle was like getting up early. That changed everything. Now I find I'm a parent and that's the only time I get to grind is the
Yeah.
mornings.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. If you could have lunch with one person dead or alive, who would it be and why? Por qué?
One person dead or alive. Oh my gosh.
Your beard is looking fierce at this angle, man. Look at the length of that beard, yo.
Dude, I don't. That's a really hard question. Dead or alive? You know what? Um, I'm gonna go. I'll go with the sports angle. I've always been a huge Andre Agassi fan.
I was thinking James Harden.
Uh, yeah,
No, go on. This
it's
is
just
this is your world.
yeah, I grew up watching a lot of basketball, but also a lot of tennis, and I always resonated more with Andre Agassi versus Pete Sampras because Agassi always just seemed like the personable guy. Like, he would be really friendly to anyone who approached him. Like, he just seemed like a cool dude. And I know that he's been through, rock bottom, ups and downs. Like, I think it would just be cool, to sit down with him and kind of pick his brain and just shoot the shit a little bit and thank him for being an inspiration all these years.
Cool. If you were a typeface or font, whatever, would you be a serif, sans serif, or script?
I would be a really messy ass script.
Okay, what would you call that script? What would your font name be? Turned up, turn up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, turned up, turnip, or like something splatter, like something splattery,
Sounds
splattered
kind
ink.
of sounds kind of gross.
Yeah.
Splattered ink. Okay. Um, Here's one. I asked this one to Lauren Dickens because she's also a big NBA fan. L Dick back in like June. So I'm gonna ask you, if you were an NBA team, what would your city and name be, and what would your logo like mascot be?
Uh, it would have to be the city would have to be Houston, just because that's its home. Um,
I mean, two LA teams, so totally possible.
yeah, why not? When I was a kid, I designed a logo for my own basketball team, my own faux NBA team. It was it was almost like the Miami Heat logo. It was a basketball with like flames coming out of it. Actually, it looks a lot like the Tennessee Titans logo right now, except with a basketball. And I actually went as far as to try to hand embroider one, just so that I could see it in like a physical form, like an embroidered form. So yeah, I might have to throw
Dang,
it
you were
back.
into like products way back in the day. If you
Yeah,
connect
man.
these dots right now, like you were born for this. What was the team name then? The Houston what? Fireballs?
Man, I don't know. I struggle with Houston team names because it either has to be space related or like storm related, because
It can
those are
be
kind of
whatever
like,
you want.
oh man, um, I don't know, dude. That's it.
Turnips.
The Houston Turnips.
There you go. Duh. What else could it be?
Yeah,
All right,
obviously.
who's winning the ship this year?
It's got to be the Rockets.
Biased. All right, last one. Where can people go to follow you online and support you?
I am at Tinlun Studio everywhere.com, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere.
With
Twitter,
the vowels.
the Twitter with all the vowels.
Yeah. Well, Terrence, dude, I appreciate it. Sorry it took so long to get you on this, but I think this is probably the perfect timing. You know, things work out how they're supposed to. I appreciate you just showing up, your vulnerability, your transparency, and just showing up as yourself on these platforms. It's been incredible to just watch your growth. And as you get into a shitstorm, like I'd love to see how you respond and how you evolve and transform into the next version of yourself. And I can't wait to see what that next version is, you know, a couple of years from now. So I'll be sitting back, eating popcorn and enjoying the ride with you.
Dude, thanks, man. Appreciate you having me on.
No problem. We'll be in touch, brother. Peace.
Sure.
Thanks again for listening. It'd be awesome if you took the time to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and let the comment below so we can connect. Again, if you want to catch a shout out as a future listener of the week, make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes and give it a rating and review.